Hello, welcome to Relation Tales. Today we're going to have some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. Here is my story. Sarah's inner conflict was intensifying. Despite the success in her personal life, her husband, Michael, a devoted and caring man, provided their family with prosperity. Their teenage daughters adored him. In everyone's eyes, including his wife's, he was the perfect spouse and parent, but her heart harbored a feeling of dissatisfaction and a desire to have her attractiveness confirmed. Her desirability. Approaching 45 and the time when the children were about to leave the nest, she examined herself even more closely. Although her husband reassured her that she looked better than ever, Sarah noticed changes in her appearance. The firmness of her body was yielding to the natural aging process. Wrinkles appeared on her face, and her hair took on strands of gray. Her longing for affirmation of her allure was fueled by every glance at the young, handsome men in her office. She began altering her style, making it more daring, and noticed a shift in her colleagues' gazes. They complimented her more often and paid her greater heed. Especially standing out was Jacob, a charming coworker who had flirted with her for years, but they had never taken it to the next level. However, one day alone together, they both encountered the long-awaited moment of true passion. This chance encounter marked the beginning of a journey into the world of forbidden sensations for the woman. Recognizing the danger of their actions, the lovers decided to continue their tryst in secret. Their passionate rendezvous grew into regular meetings, and her colleagues suggested a cruise where they could fully immerse themselves in their own world, reveling in one another without fear of discovery. Sarah deliberated at length about how to tell Michael of her intention to leave for 2 weeks. She decided to employ a method of half-truths, believing it would be less painful for him. She would tell him that she needed a break to regain emotional equilibrium and renew feelings. The desire to think about their family's future, talk to other people, experience joy, and temporary freedom to explore new relationships would be the reason for this decision. While she was gone, Michael would also have freedom from her presence. After 20 years of marriage and sex only with her, he would probably welcome a respite from the routine. Sarah doubted Michael would see other women in her absence, let alone start anything serious. She figured he would simply await her return. Maybe he would miss her a little, maybe she would have to promise not to repeat anything like this. Knowing how deeply her husband loved her, she reckoned he would endure her brief hiatus for the sake of preserving their marriage. That was why Sarah felt certain he would not take decisive steps over her spiritual quest for self-discovery and new, intense sensation. She intended to come back and be a faithful wife. After the cruise, she already eagerly anticipated that moment and planned to do everything possible to restore intimacy with Michael, lavishing him with attention and care. She even entertained the idea that 2 weeks of passionate sex on the cruise might fully satisfy her current craving, and she would no longer seek encounters with her lover. However, if that did not happen, she would have to act with greater caution after reuniting with her husband. She faced several months of avoiding contact with Jacob to minimize risks to her envisioned future of raising children and grandchildren, living out a carefree old age with Michael. All this required careful planning. And now she needed to find an approach with her husband when he was in an amiable mood. For instance, after sex, Sarah and Michael had just finished a session that seemed merely an imitation of tender caresses. Although Sarah feigned the utmost pleasure, it was obvious to her husband that she had failed to fully immerse herself in the act. However, the woman's goal was not her own enjoyment. The main thing was to give pleasure to her spouse. Lying on her back in bed, breathing heavily, Sarah decided the time had come to broach the disturbing topic. "Michael, you know I love you, right?" she asked suddenly. "Yes, dear," he replied with a nod. Then Sarah proposed a temporary release from her role as wife and mother to re-examine her life. She claimed that after a break, she would become a more devoted and better wife and mother. Michael listened attentively. However, when Sarah said she needed time to explore herself, the husband abruptly got out of bed, dressed hastily, and headed for the hallway. "Wait, where are you going?" she asked in surprise, not understanding why. Michael had loudly requested their daughters gather in the kitchen. She was unclear why the children had to be included in this discussion. Michael explained they were part of the family and needed to talk over the woman's desire to take a leave. Her husband suggested they all sit at the kitchen table and speak their minds. The questions and incomprehension of what was happening began to sound doubts and anxiety in her. Michael, despite Sarah's plea to talk alone, went downstairs to the kitchen, brewed coffee for himself, and didn't even offer his wife a cup, as he usually did. Sarah's confidence was quickly evaporating. Michael looked at his wife with a grave expression, not answering her probing. She was merely asking for personal time, insisting she needed to figure herself out. However, when the daughters convened in the kitchen, his response was cold and assertive. "Well, you can go away with your boyfriend, Jacob." Sarah looked shocked. She denied ties with Jacob and labeled him simply a colleague from work. She tried to explain she required a respite and time to unravel her feelings, ponder their future. "Yes, ponder how to have sex with Jacob without hiding from others we know," said Michael, confirming the sense he was aware of what was happening. "What are you talking about? I'm merely suggesting you take a little break from me and give me some time to." Sarah began to justify herself. "Shirk your duties as wife and mother. Well, we'll give you a reprieve. We'll just call it a divorce instead of a vacation from marriage." Michael interrupted her, making clear his intentions. Sarah tried to soothe him, saying he had taken her words far too seriously. But Michael would not be swayed. Only now did the woman notice her daughters, Jane and Abby, had suitcases next to them. "Girls, why do you have suitcases?" "Explain what's going on," said Sarah, no longer able to endure this. "Why don't you talk to Mom while I go get my suitcase?" Michael proposed, heading upstairs. But voices from the kitchen reached his ears. "Girls, address Sarah," he instructed them. "I'm afraid your father misunderstood what I was asking for." Jane was the first to intervene. "Be honest, Mom. We've known for several months what you and your lover have been up to." "I have no idea what you're talking about," Sarah denied awkwardly. "We're talking about your Thursday lunches that have turned into quick Thursday dates and are about to become a 2-week cruise with Jacob," Abby chimed in. "What? You can't know that. I mean, I haven't done anything like that. Jacob is just a colleague I sometimes have lunch with," Sarah brushed off. "Really? When you and him decided to spend your lunch break in your office, Dad got a call. Your colleagues were looking for you. You and Jacob exceeded the lunch break limit," Jane explained. "That's right," Sarah remembers that day. "When I came home that evening, Michael said he had gotten a call from my work asking where his wife was. The woman lied and told him she had been in a meeting with her boss, Mr. Thompson." "I was in a meeting with Mr. Thompson," she repeated her lie. "Then why was it him specifically who called and asked where you were anyway?" "That kind of situation has happened more than once. That's when Dad decided to hire a private investigator. We have plenty of video and photos of you with Jacob," Jane said. "That's true, Mom. That loser is not as good as our dad. You became a cheating old hag," Abby remarked. "How dare you talk to your mother that way?" Sarah bristled. "How dare you do what you're doing instead of behaving like a good mother and faithful wife?" Abby said angrily. The woman didn't know how to respond. "If your father suspected something, why didn't he tell me about it straight and stop me?" She changed direction. "He obviously didn't think it was important," Abby continued. "Mom, you have a ring on your finger that says you're our father's wife. You agreed to forsake all other men when you married Dad. Dad said that if he had stopped you this time with Jacob, you would have just gotten better at hiding your deceit," Jane intervened. "Well, he could have said something. He should have said something if it bothered him that much. It just shows he doesn't care if I get some innocent attention from another man or not. I don't understand why he suddenly got so jealous." Sarah tried to bristle. "No, Mom, he didn't say anything to you because he needed time to prepare. His lawyer and accountant have been working to prevent you from getting your hands on his money in a divorce. He didn't want the threat of financial ruin interfering. A few weeks ago, he came to us and told us what was happening. He showed us video of you with Jacob. It was disgusting. Now, my sister and I stand by Dad. He explained that modern divorce laws favor the wife no matter what she's done, so this lawyer and accountant have been reducing your joint accounts the last couple of months. I'm sure you didn't know that. Thanks to you, Abby's and my college is now fully paid for," Jane explained impassively. "What? Where did he get the money for that?" Sarah asked, shocked. "It's just low of him to do all this behind my back. And you two have conspired against me with your father," Sarah asked, shocked. "No, Mom. You and your lover conspired against our family. Either turn a blind eye to your lust or let you destroy us while you run off with your lover and a large sum of money." Abby's remark made both girls snicker. Sarah looked stunned and didn't know how to respond. At that moment, Michael returned with his suitcase in hand. "Michael, maybe we can all calm down and talk about this. I admit I may have made a big mistake. I really don't want a divorce. I'll tell Jacob I was wrong when I decided to spend time with him. I'll never see him again. I promise I never intended to divorce you. I just wanted a low break." The husband just sneered contemptuously at that. "Too late for that, dear. I understand you and Jacob have already paid for the cruise trip. In my opinion, you two really should enjoy the trip because life is going to get a lot harder for you two after you get back," Michael said distrustfully. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked distrustfully. "You'll have to take care of housework and other duties yourself because the girls and I will be living in a new apartment. By the way, it has a jacuzzi." The girls happily squealed at the news. Michael went on, "When you and Jacob get back from the trip, you won't have to go back to work. The boss is ready to fire you both. He won't do anything like that. Jacob and I are valuable employees," Sarah denied. "Are you sure? Did you know Jacob has a wife named Paige?" You and Jacob are employees whose actions allow Paige and me to sue your company for allowing intimate interaction during work hours. Your boss was very happy when Paige and I agreed to withdraw the lawsuit. If you're both fired, the husband continued impassively. This wasn't supposed to happen this way, the woman cried, grabbing her head. No, you were supposed to remain a faithful wife. We were supposed to grow old, retire, and raise our grandchildren together. Instead, you decided to distance yourself from your family and ruin your reputation, the man said coldly. Michael, I can't believe you're treating me so badly. I thought you loved me. What else are you going to do to spite me? Sarah pleaded. I'm glad you asked. If you fight for the kids, the video of your adventures with Jacob will reach your parents, relatives, colleagues, neighbors, and might even end up on an adult site. Michael continued, cutting no less sharply than a knife with his words. That can't be, Michael. I love you. I always came home and was a good wife and homemaker. I just wanted to be alone for a while. Things would have gone back to normal in a month and a half. You're accusing and tormenting me for no reason. You all have to forgive me and give me a second chance. The woman began to defend herself. No, you had a second, third, fourth, and many more chances. Every time you met with Jacob, just 3 months ago, our marriage meant everything to me. But upon finding out about everything, I realized our marriage and our children meant nothing to you. Sarah, you hurt me very deeply. I was so devastated, I could have done something to myself. If it was just the two of us, I thought about an amicable divorce, but the idea that I wouldn't be able to see my girls when I wanted helped me come to my senses. I decided to do everything possible to make sure you and Jacob reap minimum benefit from this, the man said. Michael, I can't believe you're treating me so badly. I thought you loved me. What else are you going to do to spite me? Sarah pleaded. I'm glad you asked. If you fight for the kids, the video of your adventures with Jacob will reach your parents, relatives, colleagues, neighbors, and might even end up on an adult site. Michael continued, cutting no less sharply than a knife with his words. That can't be, Michael. I love you. I always came home and was a good wife and homemaker. I just wanted to be alone for a while. Things would have gone back to normal in a month and a half. You're accusing and tormenting me for no reason. You all have to forgive me and give me a second chance. The woman began to defend herself. I would suggest figuring out how you're going to survive with the house and its bills without a steady income. You can sell the house and get half its value. If that works out, you'll have enough money to get by until you find a job. Michael and the girls were leaving when the phone rang. That's probably Jacob looking for a place to stay the night. Don't let him use any of my stuff, the man said in parting before exiting the home. They disappeared with the children before Sarah could even call out to them. Hello, Sarah. You know we got caught, Jacob said on the phone. Yes, I know, you bastard. This is not how you said things would go. I shouldn't have fallen for your fairy tales. Sarah bristled, feeling anger and resentment toward her lover. Hey, I didn't seduce you. You jumped me in your office, the man objected. It's useless to argue now. We need to figure out what to do to save our families and jobs, he said. Can I come over? Paige kicked me out. I can't afford a motel, he continued. I guess it doesn't matter now, but hurry. Maybe tomorrow we can do something to at least save our jobs. That day was the last they were together as a family before the divorce hearing. Sarah disappeared, and the house was quickly sold. She took her half of the equity, as well as all their savings and checks, apparently for her personal motives. Michael felt no concern about this. Most of the proceeds had gone to paying the girls' college tuition. Michael used the money from the house sale to replenish the emergency fund that had been spent on paying for the children's college. Ultimately, due to his wife's actions, Michael decided to wait a year and finalize the divorce in her absence to prevent any chance of her coming back for money or custody of the children. He did not want her returning. To his surprise, after the divorce, Jacob remained living in their old neighborhood, finding a low-paying job and leading a modest, solitary life. Paige soon started a romance with one of her neighbors but was in no hurry to marry him. In time, Michael also found himself a girlfriend who worked as a teacher at his daughter's school. The girls and Michael lived well. 2 years after that whole situation, the daughters left for college. They kept in touch with their mother via Facebook but did not share any information about her with their father per his own request. After the divorce, the man did not want to hear anything about that woman. He continues working at his old job while his relationship with his girlfriend developed positively. They did not discuss marriage but talked of commitment and fidelity. It seemed Michael's sex life had never been better. The girls maintained contact with Sarah but said their father did not wish to share information about himself or receive news about her. Looking back on 20 years of married life with Michael made her reflect. During that time, Sarah had been a devoted wife and caring mother, investing great effort into the home and work. Her income, together with Michael's funds, went toward providing for the family, paying the girls' tuition, maintaining the household, and covering the bills. She considered taking some money from the house justified given her significant contribution to the family's well-being. Paying for the daughter's college was a brilliant decision. She could not argue with that. The question is whether she deserved the punishment imposed on her after 20 years of fulfilling the role of a devoted wife and mother and just 3 months of bad behavior. Sarah pondered more than once whether those 3 months had been so much bad as foolish. Jacob did not meet her expectations, and the value of relations with him dropped to zero when the woman faced the consequences of her actions. Michael, her former husband, took on the role of an avenger. When she left, the lover tried to extort money from her for ruining his marriage canal. Sarah lived alone, hoping Michael would allow her to return. She has a hospital job in another town where no one knows her. She spent a lot of time in an online chat for women who were left because of cheating, consoling herself that she was lucky compared to some of them. Her looks were still attractive. Michael, she thought, knew how good a wife and mother she could be. She hoped the daughters would soften their attitude and restore her reputation in their father's eyes. She wished for Michael to find a place in his heart to love and forgive her, to give her a second chance. She'd assured herself she would never betray him again and dreamed of reconciliation. Thank you. That's the story. If you liked it, please support us with a like as well as subscribe to our channel. Write in the comments what you think about the story. Thank you for being here with us.